Hi! The spring theme continues in my kitchen today. We're going to be experimenting with some pasta, peas and pancetta and pine nuts. But first, because it is certainly 5 o'clock somewhere, it's definitely not 5 o'clock here, but it's 5 o'clock somewhere, I'm gonna show you how to make my favorite springtime cocktail. I hope you'll stick with me. So we're gonna take the juice of 1 lime, these are very juicy, which I love, into our cocktail shaker with ice. We're going to take a little bit of simple syrup, probably about a shot full, I'm just kind of estimating. This is honey simple syrup, thus the pretty dark color. It's about the last of the batch that I made. If you'd like to learn how to do this, let me know in the comments below. I'd be happy to show you. It's incredibly simple. So a splash of simple syrup. We're gonna take a jigger of gin, whatever your favorite gin is. Give it a little shimmy shake. Say hello to the dog that's just out of frame. And then I just use this little strainer to keep the ice in and get the cocktail out. There we have it, a beautiful gin gimlet. That's delightful. Okay, I'll see you over at the stove for the pasta. Time to get started. Today we're making pancetta pea pine nut pasta with mint and tarragon. I'm using this pasta, which I had kicking around in my pantry, or a chiette, not an Italian native speaker, so probably saying that incorrectly. They're little ears, tiny little pieces of pasta. You could really use whatever you like for this recipe. We'll see how well this pasta works. The tools and ingredients that you need are pretty simple. Pancetta and pine nuts may be a special ingredient that you might not have in your kitchen. You can use bacon, you can omit it completely. Pine nuts, you can use any other type of nut that you'd like, although these flavors go together pretty well. So the first thing I'm gonna do is get this big pot of boiling water that was just at a boil back up hot. This is gonna cook our frozen peas and our pasta. Get the skillet over here over like a medium heat, and the one in the back over a very low heat. Feels like a lot going on, but it's really not. The first thing we're gonna do is put our pine nuts in the skillet in the back. Just gonna give these a quick toast. Smell for those and pay attention to them. You don't wanna walk away. They can burn very quickly. Next is this pancetta. Give the pancetta a toss. Let it start rendering out its fat and getting crispy. And then this water has come back up to a boil pretty quickly. I'm gonna cook the peas in that water before I cook the pasta. So these are frozen peas. I can't find anything that tastes fresher at this time of year in the grocery store. Gonna add our peas in. Just let those go for a couple minutes. Pay attention over here to our pine nuts. And then the pancetta, just gonna render out the fat in this pancetta. So let that go. Our peas are starting to float. I'm actually just gonna give one a taste. They're done enough. That was perfect. So all I'm gonna do is gently and carefully spoon them into this colander. Okay, I've gotten 97% of the peas out of the pasta water. So I'm gonna set those aside. And I actually haven't salted this water at all. So I'm gonna take a big handful of salt, salt the water, and bring it back up to a boil. As that water comes back up to a boil, I'm gonna pick our herbs. The best way to pick mint off the stem, pull and leave the woody part out of your dish. It's a little bit too much. And then tarragon is one of my favorite herbs. I think it's a sleeper. It is licoricey, kind of lemony a little bit, really good with everything spring. It feels like a big theme for me right now. And tarragon is the same. Hold it at the top, pull the leaves back. These stems aren't actually that woody, so sometimes I'll use them, but today we'll pull it off the stem. Now, time to cut up our onion. I'm just gonna put a rough dice on this onion. The one thing I'm gonna try today, which I've never actually done before, is to use my immersion blender to blend up some of the peas that we cook, not all of them because I want some whole peas, in our dish as well. But to blend up some of the peas to make kind of like a pesto-y style sauce, or influenced by pesto. Pesto is actually pine nuts, olive oil, basil, Parmigiano Reggiano. Okay, those are diced enough. Turn my attention to what's happening behind me. Pine nuts getting some really nice color. So you can see the color that we've got in there. And they smell nice and roasty toasty. So we'll get those back in our little bowl. Our pancetta is looking great. This is gonna be the crispy bit on top of the pasta, so I'm taking this a little bit further than it is right now. We've got a lot of fat that's rendered out that I'm gonna cook my onions in. Begin testing at 9 minutes. Recommended cook time is 10 to 12 minutes. I like to finish cooking my pasta in whatever sauce I'm making, so I'm gonna probably go 9 minutes and maybe take it out on the earlier side of 10 to 12, but I'll set a timer for 9 minutes and give it a test at that point. So all the pasta goes in. I'm gonna stir it so it doesn't stick together. So I'm just gonna take our now nice and crispy pancetta, again with my spider. So that is ready for us now, later when we are ready for it. Okay, so pasta has about 6.5 minutes left. Our pancetta is out and to the side. Our peas are out. One thing I might have considered is putting those peas in iced water. That would keep them very green, but I'm just gonna leave them as they are. That may be a learning for next time. Now we're ready to cook our onions. So again, walk over, try not to spill them all over the floor. Using my bench scraper. That smell is attracting dogs. 2 little Muppets on the floor, one right there, and one back in the corner. Onions are in. We're gonna get ready to put our garlic in, but that doesn't go in quite yet. I believe this is made from elephant garlic, so it's not as potent as the typical garlic clove that you might get. So I tend to use a lot of it. So I'm probably gonna use a big heaping tablespoonful, but for now, let's get back to our onions. We're just cooking these until they're translucent. Give them a little salt, a little pepper. Three more minutes left on our timer for our initial check on the pasta, and I think that gives us time to use a special kitchen tool, an immersion blender. You could use a regular blender, you could use, frankly, like a potato masher for this, but I've got one of these, so I'm gonna use it. What I'm gonna do is, from this 2 cups of peas, I'm gonna separate out, I don't know, half of them. A little bit of cream, just because I've got it. Probably a couple tablespoons. And, special ingredient, I'm gonna add a little bit of the pasta water. Pasta water is a great addition for anything that you want to thicken up a little bit. And there's a ton of starch in this water, so I'm just going to carefully dip my measuring cup in and reserve that. So in goes a little bit of the pasta water. Now, the key with an immersion blender is you just have to keep the blade, which is here, submerged. If you don't submerge it, it's gonna be all over your kitchen. Oh, it's beautiful. Nice, beautiful sauce. It's sweet. It needs more salt. It needs pepper. I'm gonna add some of the herbs into it. It might need a little brightness too, so maybe I'll grab a lemon. Can't think of anything else. We'll start with that. I'm gonna use just about half of this to start. I think we'll end up squeezing the rest over our pasta. These things might need my attention now. Timer is off. So again, that was a 7-ish minute timer. See how the pasta's doing? Not done yet. 2 more minutes on the timer, and add a good spoonful of garlic. So I was just back there at the onion mixture, thinking a little bit about that. I think I might want to actually blend some of the onions up into my sauce. I'm going to leave some of them in chunks, but I'm also going to blend some up in my sauce. Salt and pepper. Probably about a teaspoon salt, much less of that pepper. Both of those things we can add more of at the end. and blend away. Oh, nice texture. Timer for our pasta. Again, I'm not going to take this all the way to cooked since I'm going to finish it in here. But let me grab one and see. Needs a little bit more time. Probably a solid 2 minutes. Keep going. That's exactly where I want it. Brightness from the lemon that we added. Saltiness, a little bit sweet. It's going to be a delicious sauce, especially when you consider adding mint, tarragon, pancetta, the pine nuts, the parmesan, lots of peas. It's going to be delightful. So the onions are nice and translucent. I'm going to go ahead and add our sauce to the skillet, because at the end, what we're going to do is dump the pasta into the skillet and let it kind of all come together at the same time. So this goes in. It's all happening. Sauce is going. Pasta's ready to be drained. All of our add-ins are over on the counter. So I'm going to do the risky maneuver again of taking our pasta from the pan and moving it directly into our sauce. Hopefully getting those rogue peas. I've got this sauce over a really low heat. All right, there we go. Nice green sauce. I think that sauce is cooked plenty. So I'm just going to let it come back together with the pasta. It's amazing. Beautiful. Okay, I don't want it to cook any further, so I'm going to go ahead and take it and put it in our serving dish. Sadly, I don't plan to spill any for you, sir. Green peas, pancetta, herbs, pine nuts. Squeeze a lemon. We may add a little bit more later. Parmesan. Let's take a bite. It's amazing. I could have gone a little further on the pasta. The flavor profile, though, is amazing. The pancetta is still nice and crispy. The peas are nice and sweet. I really like that kind of fake pesto sauce that we created. The herbs add a lot. Mint and tarragon are really nice together. This is a success, I think. The pasta will go a little longer next time. I think I might cook the peas and then submerge them in ice water to keep them even greener than they are. But generally, I'm really pleased with this. I think this is a beautiful pasta dish and one I'll probably keep in my arsenal. Thank you so much for joining me today. This was such a fun day, experimenting in the kitchen, making pasta, cooking with the GIN GIMLET. I would encourage you to try this. I would also encourage you to try this recipe and tell me if you changed anything or added anything to make yours better in the comments below. Thanks so much for being here today. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.